Hey guys, welcome to the Fan Infusion podcast. I'm Lauren, and today I'm back with a solo video, which I haven't actually had for quite a while, but I just felt like it was time to just do a quick solo video. I want to have a quick note about the background and the changes for the podcast. I didn't really have a chance to talk about it last episode because obviously I had my dad on as a guest, so I just wanted to get onto the subject of it. But you can obviously see my little Funkos over there, and my cool post is I also have a ring light now, so much better lighting. Before I just had my iPad propped with searched up on YouTube white screen 24 hours or something, and just hoped they would last the whole video. So I'm feeling a bit more professional now, and especially now that it's more summertime and the sun's out for a little bit longer, I can use that to my advantage as well, coming in from the window. So this will be the look or the background for the foreseeable future. I think it's quite cool. I quite like my posters in the background. I think it just adds to it. So yeah, I just thought I should mention that initially. Today is part one of two because what I'm going to be talking about, I don't have a lot of knowledge into. It's the game called Baldur's Gate 3. It's a game based on D&D, and I bought it a few weeks ago. The reason why there's only going to be a part one to this now, and it's not just going to be one full complete video, is just because I'm still in Act 1, and there's 3 acts in the game. So I feel as though if I, sum it up in this video, it wouldn't really be fair, just because I haven't played the whole game. And so I don't think I can comment on it that much or enough or do enough justice because I'm still in Act 1. I'm about to go into Act 2, but I'd rather just wait until I've played the whole game to have a full comment on it or a full episode just based off of it. So this is going to be part 1. I'm going to do a part 2 for Act 2 and then a part 3 for Act 3. So then I can really sum up what I've played so far and my opinions initially. If you know the game, you'll know that a lot of it is really just customizing and making your character exactly how you want it. Obviously, this is a bit of background, but if you don't know what D&D is, it's Dungeons and Dragons, which is a role-play board game, like an in real life one. So I'm not very knowledgeable in this. I never actually played it, but from what I can gather, you almost make your own character. So once you made your own character, there's different choices of almost like genres or things that they can be put into different sections or things like that, which I think is great. Like I said, I'm not a pro with this kind of thing, so I'm just sort of gonna talk about my experience with the game specifically. I can't really go into Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that because I've never played an actual proper game of it or anything like that. So I'm just going off Baldur's Gate 3. That's just what I'm basing this part on. So I just want to talk about my prior knowledge before I actually bought the game. So by the time I bought the game, this is the release date of the game for the United Kingdom anyway. So I bought it quite a while after. It was only a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, something like that. It's a very expensive game, so I wanted to wait a little bit. Maybe not that it was going to go on sale or anything like that already, but I just wanted to wait a little bit and see if it was really, really worth the price that it was. This is the retail price, by the way. I didn't want to just spend that without going in with prior knowledge about the game or things like that. That's what I did with Resident Evil Village, for example. I watched playthroughs of all the other Resident Evils. I watched a playthrough of Resident Evil Village, so I've got a feel for it and thought, do I want to spend my money on that? I'm very, very grateful for the fact that my parents did get me Baldur's Gate 3. I want to clarify that was in return for help around the house for at least 2 months, which I'm sticking to. I will clarify, I'm sticking to that. I'm not just, okay, I've got the game. Leave me alone now, I am helping them. So yeah, my prior knowledge to the game, I knew about one of the voice actors, which is Neil Newbon. He was in Resident Evil Village. He voiced Carl Heisenberg. Now, a lot of people, well, only the people who know me will know this, but Carl Heisenberg and Lady Dimitrescu are two of my favourite characters in Resident Evil Village. They're amazing, they're great, and I have candles dedicated to them and everything. I'm actually going to get my Lady Dimitrescu candle to show you. Here it is, in all its glory. Um, if I can, because last time I tried to link things in the description and it wouldn't let me because I hadn't had my account for a certain period of time. But this is by a lovely website who, the lovely person who has a website and also an Etsy page. I've got this one, I've got Claire Redfield, and I've got Lara Croft and Carl Heisenberg, but Carl Heisenberg's downstairs. So this is the Lady Dimitrescu one, and it's raspberry and black pepper. It smells incredible. So yeah, I only really went in with that knowledge about Neil and his previous work, and also the mocap stuff. I love games with mocap. Another game that I will definitely be doing a video on very, very soon is definitely The Last of Us 1 and 2. I'm still playing through 2 at the minute, but I've completed the entirety of 1. So that is something that I definitely want to do a video on in the future. And that's again linked to like video games and mocap. So yeah, going into Baldur's Gate 3, I knew about mocap, and that was a huge part of it. And I just think I love games with mocap because I think they really capture the characters and things like that. Also, another voice actor that I knew about was Tim Downey, who voices Gale. So I didn't tell you who Neil actually voiced, but I'll get some photos here. So this is Gale, who Tim voices, and then this is Astarion, who Neil voices. So yeah, I went into the game with that sort of knowledge. I knew vaguely about D&D. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into in terms of being in a video game. And yeah, I knew about his previous work, and I knew about mocap. That was practically it. I watched a small amount of his playthrough that he has. If I can, again, I'll link that in the description. If I can't, I'm very sorry. But yeah, so I watched a few episodes of that, of his playthrough, but I didn't want to spoil too much for me in terms of the story and how you can choose different pathways within the story. I almost wanted to do at least one playthrough of almost going in blind and just doing what I can with the very, very minimal knowledge that I had, which is what I've done, basically. So in terms of the actual customization of the character, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I knew that it was going to take a while because when I played like Sims in the past and things like that, it's taken me so long to just get a character. I'm very picky because if I know that that's my character, that's it, then my characters are going to be perfect. Like, I don't care, my character will be absolutely perfect. With Baldur's Gate 3, there's a lot of customization to do. Like I said before, the characters are in different like classes and different genres that you can pick from, and then within those, there's also subclasses and things like that. And I did not know what I was doing. I'm going to be honest, I still don't really know what I'm doing with that kind of thing. I looked at the stats because I know that they're ranked. There's like intelligence, strength, that kind of thing. So I picked the one that had the highest of all of them and just went and ran with that. I didn't look into anything about, how they would be perceived in the game because I didn't think that was even going to be a part of it. So yeah, I went in completely blind. So one thing I definitely want to talk about with this game is the equality and also just the portrayal of different people, and I think it's amazing. If you know what I mean, then I'll explain it now. But anyway, if you know what I mean, then you'll get it. But there's a lot of customization that lots and lots of games out there should definitely take a note of in terms of how specific you can make your character, even down to like heterochromia or vitiligo. And I think having those options for people to play a character that looks exactly like them, I think it's great. It gives the opportunity for the player to almost really see themselves in the game, and obviously with it being based off of D&D, and you can create your own character within that. The fact that they have really brought that into a video game version as well, I think that's great, and I think it was very, very necessary for the game and for all the players as well. Another example of this is sexuality. Um, Within the game, you can choose whatever. Um, I do love that part of it and that side of it. It's quite sweet to not only have like the action side of the game, but also the other parts of it as well, and being able to interact with each of the characters. I think that's really fun, and maybe not all of it should be taken on by other game companies. I think a lot of it should be for that, in terms of being able to interact with each character separately and speak to them about different scenarios that they're involved in. I think it's something that I enjoyed definitely right off the bat when I found out that that was an option. So now I sort of want to talk about my experience about the action and the fighting side of things. So D&D, like I said, is like a in real life role play board game. So within that, you have different types of dice that you roll, and you have to like hit a certain number to be able to do that action, or yeah, just to do that action or to make that move. And so when I went into like the first combat in the game that I'd ever done, I was a little bit confused. I have to be honest. Obviously, I'd watched a little bit of Neil's gameplay beforehand, but I didn't really know what it was going to be like when I was the one playing it. That's what I found with a lot of games. Linking back to Resident Evil Village, you can watch someone play it and you'll think, "Oh yeah, I would have done that," or "Oh yeah, that looks easy," and then you get into it and it's really, really not. And so going into that first combat or that first action sequence, I did not know what was going on. I was so confused. I also hadn't enabled the tutorials, which was something that I don't really know why I did that. I think I just really wanted to go in blind and just see what happened. Um, I do regret that a little bit, but then again, it's almost forced me to learn the game mechanics more. So it's not the end of the world, to say the least. But yeah, so going into that, it works with the dice, and you have to roll um, something or higher, basically. And if you roll below that, it comes up on your screen, by the way. If you roll below that, then you don't do that action, or there's repercussions. An example of this as well, it's not just in the action or the fighting sequences, it's also when you're interacting with people. So this leads me on to my next point about the side characters and the people within the game that you can interact with. Every single character you come across, whether it's just like a random person in a village, you can go up to them and interact with them. You might not be able to have like a full conversation, but you know, that choice to, I'm a very, very like curious person with games, especially with not free roam, but ones where there's not everywhere's restricted. I'm very curious. So being able to then go up to like all the different characters everywhere and just interact with them in different ways, I thought that was a really cool feature, and I really, really enjoyed that with my gameplay of Act 1. So overall, I just feel like the dice side of it, I was kind of prepared, but at the same time, I didn't really know until I actually got into it. So yeah, when I was like interacting with people, having conversations with the people in my party, it caught me off guard because I didn't realize that there was dice rolls for that as well as the action or the fight sequences. So yeah, it caught me off guard, but I think it's quite an interesting one, and it really switches up your gameplay sometimes. Like you'll have a plan in your head of how you're going to approach a situation, and then you fail it. You failed the dice roll, and you can't do it, and so you have to then, you know, not go back. You can try again on some of them, um, but you have to sort of base the future off of it. I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but like your choices and how to adapt from something failing. That leads me on to something else. So, in terms of the dice rolls, like I said before, with the customization, there's the different qualities that the characters are separated into. So, like persuasion's one of them, and that's the one I'm going to be talking about a lot. So my character is quite low for persuasion. My character's I think a 4 for persuasion. That's very, very low. um, and I didn't realize that for some roles you can pick like persuasion choices. So if I was to interact with a character and I had to persuade them of something or persuade them to help me, I would obviously pick the persuasion option. But because mine was so low, once I'd rolled, it removes like numbers off. So let's say I rolled a 10, I would actually end up getting a 9. So there's a lot of situations where I've forgotten about that, and I've gone in and actually failed a dice roll, which I thought was going to be really easy. So yeah, that's just another note to take if you're planning on getting the game that I wasn't aware of. And during the customization, if I knew that, I definitely would have gone through and really picked specific qualities that I wanted to be higher. Like persuasion definitely needs to be higher, and strength. They're the two that I've learned from because my character is very low on both of those. Just a overall concluding point. At this minute, whilst playing through Act One, I've been really enjoying it. I was a little bit hesitant first playing the game because, like I said, literally went in blind. I didn't know what to expect, and yeah, the game mechanics were almost a little bit threatening because there's so much to it and it heavily relies on the player. It's not like The Last of Us with cutscenes and you have to do one thing to get to the next part of the story. If you do one thing and it goes wrong, your story will then change because of that. So it was quite threatening going in, just blind and not really doing a lot of research into it or knowing about like D&D or anything like that. But I would 100% recommend it. Yes, it is quite a pricey game, but with the game mechanics, the mocap, the customization, the detail, the actual story itself, for me, I think it's definitely worth it, and I think it's actually a good price, which I know might sound crazy because it's quite expensive for a game. Don't get me wrong, like that is a fairly pricey game, and I've never ever paid that much for a game before in my whole life. The most I ever paid was for Resident Evil 8. And so, yeah, I do think it's worth it though. Just because of how interactive it is. And also, I like the fact that it takes a lot of hours. And just one last point that I really want to make is that you can have multiple run throughs. So if you completed the game and you sort of wanted to go for a different approach, like for the minute I'm playing sort of like a cautious approach in terms of making like choices and in my fight sequences and things like that. I'm not really used to, especially the movement. I haven't got that down to a T as of just yet. So if I was to do another playthrough, I wouldn't go for a cautious approach. I think I'd maybe just play around a little bit and just, I don't know, not persuade people, just tell the truth. Like just be honest and probably mess up my character's life, but it's whatever. So I do love that part of it and that option that you can have multiple playthroughs. So yeah, I think for me, just overall, I'm excited to get into Act 2 and Act 3. I've heard that it gets a little bit more stressful the more you play, which I think I'm prepared for. But yeah, I would 100% recommend the game. It's an incredible game. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something new today or got a little bit of an insight into it. So yeah, I'm excited for the next parts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.